We analyze the undercurrents, expose the intrigues, and break down the narratives that define our democracy. Dr. Tony Olisa Mbeki delivering razor-sharp analysis, and Ebuka Franklin and Chisom on the question wheel, driving the conversation. We bring you the most compelling discussions on governance, policies, and power plays. Stay informed, stay engaged, stay ahead. The Polity, every weekdays at 9:15 a.m. Exclusive on Udala 104.7 FM Onitsha.
Sometimes I feel outnumbered in the studio because how do I come in here and the first thing Tony Olisambeki starts to tell me is that freely women we are giving and freely women will have to give. Because I don't understand how men of this generation would always talk about, oh, the days of our forefathers, the way our forefathers were. Your forefathers were sole providers. And I cannot recall in any documentary any forefather. Slow down now, slow down. So you are rushing me. No, they rush me. No, they rush me. I have never come across a documentary where a camera was put before a black man and the first thing he complained about was, oh, women bill us a whole lot. I am either bringing calories or bringing beads or bringing this or bringing a clay for her body or bringing this for her tattoos. Listen, I don't see why the 21st century man would want to be treated like the forefathers who were Lord and their words were A and Amen and they complain about providing. No. You people should pick a struggle.
No. You have to, if you want to westernize generally, because out there in UK, out there in Canada, everywhere you go, nothing like that. It does not exist. In fact, you find out, hardly see any lady, asking any man anything, because for the person.
Are you being serious right now?
That's true. I've got friends. In fact, last I was there, in fact, you understand, that's the culture there. But the point is, the Nigerian government has cost a lot on our women. And for the fact many of them are not maybe having one thing or the other that will actually meet all their needs. They find it very difficult to stand on whatever they earn. But men have become automatic teller machine, ATM, to many women. That's what it is. We have to call it what it is. But there are few that do not engage in that. Not all women, because we must really have to segregate. There are few, but they are in the minority. But in the majority, the obvious training given to every woman, like in fact, mothers do tell them, hey, mother case, and mothers even encourage them. Go and not like give me an egg. That is it. Once he tells you he likes you, remind him that you need to make your hair. You need to add up your, for your exam this and all that. But you find out that, I don't know, could it be because our fathers have felt in the responsibility that women resulted in all these things, and possibly from broken homes, from homes that are not what they should be. Maybe there is a problem. In fact, I don't know.
Broken homes have collected stray bullets like this. So a home that is not providing, are you now calling it broken? Because there are people from broken homes and they are providing for more than so many people from homes that are not broken. Anyway, good morning to you and welcome to the Polity. My name is Chisom Chinedu. Franklin Ebuka is here. And Dr. Tony Olisambeki is here as well. Frank, over the weekend, it was quite an eventful one, I must say. From the rescue of the Oyo school children, I felt like a mother whose child has returned from exile because, I mean, I did a radio count on this every single day. I mean, from every weekday for, I think I counted lasted 55 days and eventually, or 57 days, they returned over the weekend. It was something that had mixed feelings because we had the children and their teachers return. One was already beheaded at the earliest stage of their captivity. And then we also understand that we lost some men of the armed forces. Maximum respect to them. And of course, we are hoping that the Nigerian government does enough for their families to cushion this loss. We'd get to dig deep into it. Also, over the weekend, reports emerged from here in Anambra State about a fake health facility where cesarean sections are conducted. Somewhere here in Anambra State, I'll get to play you the audio. And also, I understand that there is a blogger who has come out to apologize for defaming the first family. The first time I saw snippets of this blogger's work, Soludo says he disowned Ozona. Ozona says, I don't take orders from my father. Anybody who posted it, I told the person, do you not even see that this is a deep fake? How do people wake up, contort things like this, and some other persons just run with it, share it massively in groups, put captions? I started to ask myself, is this how much we glory, we desire awful information? Because the kind of captions I saw with people posting it, it was really awful. But of course, he's come out to apologize. We'll tell you more about it. And then to Ebonyi State, where the Minister of Works, David Mahi, has said he'd like to have a debate with presidential aspirant, Mr. Peter Obi, former governor of Anambra State, LP candidate for 2023 and now NDC candidate. He said he'd like to have a debate with him. And there's a controversy, a saga now hanging around David Mahi. We'll tell you more as we proceed. Welcome. Franklin, good morning.
Yes, good morning. A number of things you have raised, and interestingly, two of you began on a note of trying to see who is going to add numbers there, and just like trying to use your word. And when you said add number, I remember the song which was done by Demot Kennedy, one of my best songs so far. And now the issue you talked about, I think is the problem. The problem is that in our time, some persons have commercialized their relationship, and they have made relationships proper television program, whereby once you get into not even relationship, once you get to know somebody, and the next thing is the person becomes here so good, right? I bet that is going to be a matter for another day. Now, you have raised a number of things that happened over the weekend, because the weekend was loaded. And in the midst of what you mentioned, let me just binge on this very one. That apology which was offered by, should I call him a blogger or one AG called Weibo Experience, who owns Igbo Times Magazine and also iNews. There's something you said about, you wondered how people were sharing those things, believing what the man posted. There's something we call confirmation bias in communication, where you already have a bias against somebody or against something. And once you see anything that fits that your bias, you tend to believe it hook, line, and sinker, even when it defies every logic. I think that's what happened in that very area. But apart from the apology that the man has rendered, or beyond the apology he has rendered, how many Nigerians reacted to that, but there's much to be said. It appears as if no one will make GP to be tabi, whereby everybody is doing everything possible to decapitate him, even when there is no basis. Because if you go deep into what Professor Scammers said, you will see some gaps. And people are asking questions. Somebody of Obi status who was once a former governor, that he's supposed to enjoy certain privileges that others enjoy. But we have seen cases where those things are denied him, and when he cries out, people begin to hound him, saying that he did this, he did that. So the weekend was actually loaded. So by the time we begin to look at the issues, we see the ones we talk more on, and the ones that we might just gloss over amongst other things. Because the biggest story so far is the release of the Udala school children. And I saw the woman, the teacher, when she had her time, she asked about the husband and also her car.
All right then. Dr. Tony Olisambeki, good morning to you.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Chisom. Good morning, Nigeria. Good morning, the good people of Southeast. Good morning, in Anambra. Good morning, in Onitsha. Good morning, in the Osumo. Good morning, everyone under the reach of a voice. Good morning, Ndolo Akandolo Ibo, the mechanic, artisans, and then Aboy Fobonana, and the Keke, the Chatu boss, and our professionals, those in medical, law, engineering, and what have you. Those who are also in media, journalism. We welcome everyone. It's another day, just like we do say every day, the miracle of waking up. And when you see a new day, just know that's a miracle for us here. And today be Monday the 13th day in the month of July, in the year 2026. When we are talking about the weekends or being loaded, we saw ordination across different places. In fact, there was one of these ordinations I cited, maybe it happened in Ghana. A little boy of 23 years, and he generated some media reactions, conversations. People were asking questions: how can a 23-year-old boy be a reverend father? Why would they ordain him? I think it happened in Ghana. But the diocese said that it's not a deep fake, but it's true. And people started talking about putting canon law. But that's by the way. We saw the nation in India, on the church diocese, and many other places. And then we also congratulate those who are ordained priests, but they must also urge them to be the priest of God. Because these days, materialism has distracted that calling of priesthood, materialism. Many people are just being pushed into priesthood for different reasons. There are those that now cover up. Because at the end of the day, we have heard stories that some of them do have, they call it hidden wife or children, and do a matter of things. But until I begin to pinpoint some of these issues, we wouldn't even know. But congratulations, so far, they should dedicate themselves and do the work they have been called upon to do. We thank God Almighty for a day like this, for His grace, for His love, for all He has been doing for us, for being here as well. Just sit back and enjoy the program. There's so much to talk about. Sit back and enjoy the program.
Absolutely. We're going to start by telling you what the front pages say, and from there, we'll dive into the conversation proper. On our table today, we have The Guardian, Daily Sun, The Punch, and Vanguard newspapers. And just to let you know that we are live on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM.
$500 million power project report. That's on page 34. 2027 presidency, APC, Muslim ticket sparks fresh debate on page 2. Foreign debt service engulfs almost $1 billion in 2 months on page 34. Rescued Oyo pupils may meet families today on page 7. And the last headline on the front page of the Punch say, recovered ISWAP footage reveals Palestinian trainer, Moroccan doctor, army on page 8.
All right, then let's go over to the next paper on our table, and that would be Daily Sun. Atiku slams FG over increase in WAEC NECO fees. Says government making education more expensive for Nigerians. Find that on page 25. DMO FG borrowed 7.6 trillion naira via T-bills bonds in 6 months on page 24. Orire school children. Security sources reveal how abductors, wives, kids arrest paved way for rescue on page 6. The writer here is how joint forces made them waste ammunition before final onslaught. ICPC to arraign ex-minister Nnaji today. PFIPC DG Adeniyi tomorrow on page 25. Rescue other Nigerians in captivity in Borno, Katsina, others, Cantals of G on page 25. Why I want to engage Obi in debate. Imahi speaking. First floating LNG project. UTME offshore targets September final investment decision on page 24.
Well, for Mahi, somebody might say that debate has actually started with what happened in his
Ebonyi
home.
house.
Yes, in the Ebonyi state. Then let's go back to the Get newspaper. The big story is on page 6. It says Nigeria leaves e-waste recycling to hustlers, misses out on $8-9 billion income. And then you can see the pictorial representation of that on the front page. Another headline here says, oh yeah, decries doctor-patient ratio gaps, widen infrastructure deficit on page 3. Dangote cracks down on illegal haulage, offers 500,000 naira reward for whistleblowers. The story is on page 2. Trump's new Africa envoy visits Nigeria, presents new migration deal on page 3. The terrorists killed 9 Plateau family members, 18 in Benue attack on page 30. Atiku announced fourth proposed 50,000 naira WAEC NECO fees hike. You can see that on page 3, or rather page 7 of the Guardian. Then on page 12, let accountability prevail, improve of NNPCL's 210 trillion naira shortfall. And on page 7, 2027, Igbo leaders raise concerns over suppression of opposition. And on page 5, it says how intelligence-led operation aided the rescue of abducted Udala victims on page 5. PFIPC, police arraign Adeyemi tomorrow as pressure mounts on Senate ICPC on page 6. And with that, we conclude the headlines we have this very morning on the front pages of the papers.
All right, then let's start the conversation proper. Recall we are live on Facebook, Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Join the conversation there.
You're listening to Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Seriously authentic.
Bịa onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetakwa otu bọtụ Malta Guinness ọzọ. Onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetakwa abụọ ọzọ, mezuo ya atọ.
Ya, Iken, bọtụlụ Malta Guinness ole ka ị chọrọ ịṅụta?
Nwanne m, ọ bụrụ ịmaghị maka ihe rite Goodness Dunland nke ndị Malta Guinness, anaghị m aṅụ mmanya niile a na nkịtị o. Achọrọ m iji ya wee rite ihe rite dị iche iche dịka fridge, TV, generator, standing fan, instant airtime, ya na ezigbo ego. Gwam, otu a ka ihe rite Goodness Dunland nke ndị Malta Guinness si dị. Naanị zụta Malta Guinness gị, mepee ya, skanụ akara ya, itinyezi akara dị n'okwuchi bọtụlụ gị. Ọ gwụcha, ị nwere ike irite ego ruru nde naira 2 na ihe rite dị iche iche ruo ngwụcha Ọgọst.
Chai, Ikenna, ebinyego m uche anụ nwa kemgbe. Bịa, onye na-ere Malta Guinness, wetara m bọtụlụ Malta Guinness now.
Malta Guinness, nourishing goodness for every side of you.
Malta Guinness.
104.7 Udala Radio. You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
So, Tony, let us start the conversation from home. According to reports, the Anambra State government, of course, we talked about its intensification of the campaign against quackery sometime last week. And also, we understand that a 47-year-old woman, one Mrs. Onyinyechi Esther Charles, is being arraigned over allegations of carrying out surgical procedures without required medical and surgical qualifications. Now, according to reports, this Mrs. Charles is running a traditional birth attendant facility in Umueri, Anambra East local government area. And according to reports, she has conducted even cesarean sections. Now, you've got to know how serious that is. She has done normal deliveries and also carried out other surgical procedures. Now, this facility has also been linked to reported cases of medical complications and fatalities. And when I first saw this news, two things came to my mind. Is that a proper functioning health facility in that community for something like this to come and thrive? I mean, beside, of course. And again, it got me asking myself, if the people had an option, would they really patronize these facilities? And this one in particular. Because from my understanding, this said woman is from Abia, married to a man from Unteje, and started off as an Ezewani. No medical background, not even a quack nurse or the type that mixes drugs. And then from there, she went on to doing a prayer ministry, from running a prayer ministry to running a maternity, and then proceeding to upgrading herself to a proper surgeon. And so I am curious to find out, why do facilities like this continue to thrive? Not just because we don't have, or we have regulatory agencies that I am asking if they are really doing their jobs, but if there is an alternative for the people, will things like this be thriving?
Well, we have been seeing things like this, but just that why this one is getting traction is because we saw it on social media and many people are talking about it. And the woman in question was actually bewildered the time she was being questioned. And she said she had practiced this for about 5 years and probably she was still in practice. But when you talk about quackery, especially in medical profession, remember we have quackery almost in every profession. We've seen fake lawyers, fake police officers, fake journalists, fake engineers. We know the danger these people pose to the society. We know that for sure. Nobody will pretend that we don't even know these dangers. But outside that, we are talking about health. Why health is of major concern, because it has to do with life and death. And for the fact it has to do with life and death, it has become something of great concern. And for me, I would also blame government. Most times I've said this thing many times, that we are supposed to be protected and we're not protected. Who should be blamed? Government. We are supposed not to be exploited and we're exploited. Who should be blamed? Government. We are supposed not to be fleeced of our hard-earned money. I was told about a particular scheme, Ponzi scheme, NRC, that crushed. Many people lost thousands of naira, some lost millions. But how did that Ponzi scheme continue to a point that it crashed and people lost money? Who is there to blame? Do you have agencies of government that are paid to monitor, to evaluate, to audit, to track these people? The question is, are they doing their job? For me, we must strengthen our response to medical quackery. Because for other countries, they do it through a combination of different measures, both regulation, inspections, investigation, public reporting. These days, people have been patronizing this woman. And nobody cared to ask, is she a quack nurse or a medical professional or a medical officer? People do not care about that. Because her service could be cheap. But I saw the video, I watched the video. And if you look at the vicinity, find out how very despicable the surroundings, the environment, everywhere is. I looked at the video, watched the video. It tells a lot. And she was asked, how many people have you been able to operate upon? She said about 5 persons. And she had conducted 5 broad operations for, I think, about 3 persons. You know what that means? You have to lacerate the surface of the tummy. You must lacerate it and stitch back. And she said that she did those things successfully. And we are also told that, according to her, she had also performed ulcer, or what, I think a particular ulcer, tumor ulcer or ulcer somewhere, where she had to even push her hand in the private part of the person just to get that tumor taken off. And where she also give you other medications that would also accompany it. We have Nigeria Medical Association, NMA. We also have these bodies. We know very well it is not within their right to track these quack doctors, but we know they have a role to play. And we have Ministry of Health. We also have, Department of Health in every local government. We have Department, because if you look at the local government in question, we are talking about in the Tribune, local government. They want to tell me that there's no supervising ministry or supervising department. Yeah, we have all those things. And the truth remains that people seems to be alienated from the government. Most of this intelligence are shared by the people. For the fact that this woman was arrested was something somebody told the operative, the local vigilante, that went and arrested the woman. But she had been there for past 5 years. People have not been made to be part of governance, part of government. Some of these things happen within them, around their vicinity. We are in a country where a nurse sees herself as a doctor. A midwife, a matron sees herself as a doctor. A pharmacist sees herself as a doctor. A lab scientist sees himself as a doctor. They do not understand, because I know if you pass through medical profession, you have their jurisdiction. Most lab centers, diagnostic centers have turned out to be hospitals. Once they have diagnosed you, they will prescribe drug for you, they will administer the drug for you, they will also check you. This is going on. Go and look around. Nobody checks, nobody monitors, nobody evaluates, nobody finds out how these people operate. And mostly because their service charge is simply maybe cheaper compared to medical or qualified medical officers. Then you talk about pharmacists. We've seen pharmacists, from the look of things, have been able to go through that very profession. I know you have pharmacognosy, community farms. There's so many other branches there. Do they practice that? Many of them have turned out to be sell representatives. They sell these drugs from most of these companies. Many of them have been able to work where drugs are really manufactured, with their dosage, everything, the reactions, and some research conducted. How many of them have been in such kind of situation? They have turned out to be dispensers. That's what they have turned out to be.
Tony, can I do a little intervention
All
here?
right, please go on.
If you go through that very new story that came out about the arrest of this very woman, you see that the Commissioner for Health in Anambra State, Dr. Obidike, and that he has warned members of the public against seeking medical care from unlicensed facilities or unqualified persons. And he said that any expectant mother or patient should only patronize registered health facilities or providers. And according to him, he said they're going to continue this very surveillance. Now, I'm going to ask two questions. So one is, how was this very woman able to manage, these health challenges that you highlighted, knowing the intricacies involved in medical practice? That's number one. Then number two, let's even interrogate more, because in Anambra State here, if you are going to run a private hospital, there are procedures before you can establish that. There are issues about registration, approvals, development of facilities, staffing, and what have you not. And then for Anambra State, one is this. You will need to, if you want to establish a private hospital in Anambra State, you will need to register first with the Anambra State Health Establishment Fund and the Accreditation Management Unit, which is under the Ministry of Health, before you commence the operation. Now, after this, there is a formal application letter requesting for registration. Then you talk about the building plan showing the dimensions and the intended use of each room. You are going to present certificate of incorporation from CAC. You are going to present a 3 years tax clearance certificate. You are going to present your professional certificate and the specialist qualification if applicable. Then you also require to present certificate of a full professional registration, then current practicing license, your NYC discharge certificate or exemption certificate. You're also going to show you evidence of membership of relevant professional bodies like the Nigerian Medical Association or whatever. Then there's going to be a central clearance letter from Anambra State branch of Nigerian Medical Association, and this is required for hospitals. Then there's a letter of acceptance from at least 3 qualified nurses or midwives, together with copies of the certificate, your passport, details of staff employed, and so many things you need to fulfill before you get to establish hospital. But eventually, we now have a woman who was running a health facility without maybe going through these very processes. And the question is how? How did she manage to establish this, knowing that there is a procedure that needs to be fulfilled? So are we going to blame people who go there for medical treatment? Are we going to blame the government? Then for what the commissioner is asking, that people should patronize only registered ones. How can people know the ones that are registered and the ones that are not registered when they may not necessarily be able to go there and ask for evidence to show that they are registered?
But let's not forget that sometimes they don't even have any around them. Tony.
Well, just like you raised a number of questions, you made us understand the procedure one should get himself into before establishing a medical facility. No doubt it's a rigorous process. You find out that so many people are involved, so many agencies, many ministries and authorities are involved before one can also set up that. But the point remains that, just like you mentioned earlier on, who do we blame? I've said it many times. After God, the next is government. And I'll say that the government is there to protect the people. That's the role of the government. And that's why if they are protecting the people and they come from different angles, I have always been in support of government in the attempt to protect the people. I don't mind those really meaning into it. As far as it is for the safety of the people, for the fact that they came late or they did not do it when they ought to have done it, that could be talked about, but it does not in any way vitiate the fact that he has to perform the function. Now, coming back to the question you raised, for me, I've said earlier on, we have to blame the government because that place should not even exist in the first instance.
Let's also start from the first one. The issue of how was she able to manage or conduct those procedures without having medical knowledge?
If you look around, she may have been enlisted as auxiliary nurse. Because most people should note this. Those who are auxiliary nurse, they are not qualified nurse. They are not. What is auxiliary nursing in our local parlance? If I not be a nurse, say Lisa. Apologies to those who bear the name Elizabeth. But that's the auxiliary nurse. There are those who are just more like somebody learning carpentry. More like somebody learning medicine. That's what it's like. And you find out that we need sensitization. The kind of clothes or the outfit they wear is quite different from the ones worn by qualified nurses. And then when we talk about those who are qualified, those who are from accredited nursing school, most hospitals run off. We allow that. What is government talking about that? Is it an appropriate practice? I understand, because that program is seemingly cheaper. But if you go to accredited nursing school, it takes millions. But being that every family would want to have a young girl who may have graduated from secondary school and she may not be doing anything, the next to be Gamma nurse. That is auxiliary nurse. And that's the one we call Nurse Elisa. It's just maybe the woman in question. She did not go to any accredited or any nursing school. Now she felt she has got appropriate training. And that was why she was able to conduct those surgeries. And she never knew that if any of these people she had operated upon, if they had died, you know what I would have? Two charges. One murder, the other one has to do with impersonation.
Let's quickly attend to this.
Forgery.
Give me a second.
Auxiliary means to support. Not bringing somebody who has instance. We are hospitals run these things. Are you trying to tell me that even the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria are not aware? That's where the problem started. That is where everything started. Let me also let you know, because it's important we call these things out. The woman in question, are you aware that this woman conducted myomectomy? You know what that means? When you open the abdomen, she did it. She was explaining, because the young man who was questioning her asked her, did you open the abdomen? She said, yes. And you know what that is? Myomectomy. That's a major operation. Even those who just graduated from MBBS are not even allowed to take on major operations. They perform minor operations, minor surgical operations. But those who are allowed to do those things are consultant surgeons. I don't know. We have to tell the people this. That's why we are here. But this woman, no say Lisa.
Tony, I'm literally having goosebumps because
say
only God
Lisa.
knows how many people have developed
And I
complications.
looked at the clinical equipment around her, very dirty. I saw, because some of these things you can easily go to the medical markets at Headbridge and buy some of this. I looked around the environment, the vicinity, and I said, what happened? This woman should be in jail. She's a 47-year-old woman from what we've been told, and then she has been there, and the intelligent people saw these things and they allowed that.
Umweri, she's practicing in
Umwe, right?
Can I also say something?
All right,
Because
please.
you had mentioned this, that in Nigeria, auxiliary nurse is not legal. And if you go to some states, you see that some states clamp down on this because they regard it as quackery. But like we do see, if you go to many hospitals around us, you are going to see these very auxiliary nurses, and they do certain things that are not supposed to do. Ordinarily, what an auxiliary nurse should do is just like what Chisom mentioned, maybe assist in bathing,
change
Feed-
your
feeding-
bed sheets.
feeding patients. If they need to be moved from one point to the other, they help. If there's need to prepare any patient for examination, or maybe help in taking vital signs, those minor things. In fact, they can't even administer injections without any direct supervision of a trained nurse. But what we see these days is that
And their uniforms are different.
they can't even make prescription, they can't even do diagnosis. But what we see these days is that they perform the functions of a trained midwife and a nurse, and everybody has turned a blind eye to it. So now back to the major issue, Tony, because we have been able to highlight the dangers associated with what we saw in this very case we're referencing now. And I highlighted the procedure that one needs to fulfill if you're going to establish a medical facility in Nigeria. But the reverse is the case.
Yeah.
Now, since it's like we are now between the devil and the WC, because the people who are supposed to go and seek for this medical assistance, many of them might not know how to identify a quack health facility. So how does government come in as an interventionist to help us save the life of the common man? Because somebody might walk into a hospital without even knowing that they are not qualified to do certain procedures, and the person must even go through it and maybe get cure or whatever, or get treatment. So how does government come in to help save this situation?
The truth is, people wallow in ignorance. In fact, some of these people who are doing auxiliary nursing program, many of them are told that they are gonna be a qualified nurse. That after doing that, you do another ND program and you are good to go. Many of them don't even know that such scheme is illegal. And how we plead with Nigerian government, even every state government, the word auxiliary nurse should be detached, because that thing is caregiving job. They are caregivers.
They are simply a caregiver.
Yeah, that's what they are. We may detach the nurse from that thing. Maybe it is the thing that is confusing us. Let's call them caregivers, because ordinarily, auxiliary nurses, they are caregivers. And caregivers don't even administer injection. Just like you have mentioned here, they are caregivers. And for you to be trained in caregiving responsibilities, of course, there should be an authority in that would monitor how these things are taught. Of course, there should be a program. Caregiving is a program, not the one that the hospitals can run by themselves on their own. Having said that, now you ask the question. The sensitization should cut across everybody. Government, Ministry of Health should sensitize the public, of course, through radio, through announcement, churches, because that's what we have here in the north, mosque. And if you move around some places where people gather, you talk to them, you let them know, and let them to report people with such facilities. People with such, they should report. And government should do as much as possible to do monitoring. I have said it many times, the only problem we have in this country is monitoring. Nobody monitors. Everybody sits back in the office and believes that everything is going well. And something will go as bad as many years before it is reported. We don't have that monitoring. And I've said here, public health facilities should have camera. Public health facilities, both private ones, government can make a policy and mandate every private hospitals, clinics, government hospitals to put on cameras. They should have that. It's just a simple executive order can do that.
You know, you just reminded me of something that happened in a hospital in Enugu. And while I might not want to give out the story because the family may not be willing to share it publicly, but some things, like you pointed out, would not happen if cameras were in our facilities.
Definitely, and I've said it many times. If time permit, even public schools should have some of these things. But let's begin with, because this one has to do with life and death. That's why I'm so much concerned about it. But even this woman does not even know the offense she has committed. She knew that what she was doing is wrong. But if you probe further, you know that she even know that how many years this could have even landed. And you know, when she performed some of the things she was highlighting, she did. In fact, I couldn't even finish the video.
Was she expecting to be applauded?
I don't know. You know, the person who was actually asking the question assured her that nothing would happen. It's just a way to verify, you know, certain things, and she felt free to tell the person, because if you started watching the video, that was exactly what happened.
Is there a way our people would get to take blame for the existence and the thriving of people like this? Have you heard people in conversations like, they'll tell you, Nataluchi, na maleama, it's a natural gift to perform surgeries.
No.
Whatever issues, I'm talking about how people, especially in rural communities, look at where she chose to practice, Umweri, a rural community. And I am curious to find out if you think now, because I think so, that the people somehow encourage the existence of things like this by believing in this idea of things being naturally bequeathed to some persons. And so they would tell you that skills, like surgical skills, were naturally given to her.
The truth is, go and read it. Go and study it in school. Nobody's arguing whether Omalugama, but under our laws.
Now, I'm telling you that people even encourage it, so we should be
that
also
is
be encouraging them, telling them that it shouldn't be.
It's ignorance.
Absolutely.
It's ignorance, and ignorance has no way when it comes to law.
Absolutely.
And you know one thing I discovered around here, even most times when we talk about politics, when we talk about policies of government, when we talk about so many things, I discover the depth of ignorance, especially coming from people. And this thing keeps bothering me. And people speak out of ignorance. And for them, they know what they're talking about. I have just said it many times here. You know, sometimes this thing is also applicable. Somebody is sick. You present the person to a man of God, and the man of God started at the point. Please, your ministry. I'm not saying I believe in miracle. I believe in God. I believe in the power of the Most High. But your ministry is not a hospital. It's not a place. Some of these things are done. Okay. These places are not hospital. If such people are brought before you as a minister of God, the first thing you do, ask that the person be taken to the hospital so that things that should be done be done. You visit the person at the hospital and begin the prayer right over there. Okay, the plan for time. These practices must be entrenched.
Can I add? Because now we're talking about the ignorance on the part of the people. Yes, because one is there is depth of health facility in that very area, and level of awareness is also very minimal. Myself as a person, before I get to any hospital, I make tons of inquiries about the hospital before I even think of going there. And once I get in there, I look at the wall to see their certificate of registration. If you go to any good pharmacy, go to any good hospital, you will see that certificate of registration hang somewhere. That's like an harbinger before you even start any other thing. But if you go to these rural communities, even if they have that very certificate hang there, many of them might not be able to read that to know whether it's approved or not approved. That's why I'm asking if there's any other thing that government can do to help people to be able to identify these illegal facilities.
They don't carry out surgical procedures as well.
They don't cut out critical. They do not do anything critical. That's why it is a low risk one, very low risk. So my own advice is this, because I have said it many times, why these things thrive is because government functionaries, those saddled with the responsibilities, have failed.
Or maybe because the government has failed the people. If the government had a functional health facilities, or facility at least, the people would not have to fall back on things like this. And the persons who are meant to regulate, they obviously do not pay attention.
Let me also say
but we should be rounding off on this.
Let me say something, because we know very well in Anambra State, I'm aware that the government, when it comes to maternity, I wanted to say something about those who are running fake maternity home. Everywhere you go, On a nangwa. I don't know. Chisom, should help me understand. Maybe explain what does that mean. On a nangwa. What does
You
that
just
mean?
said it now. Maternity home.
On a nangwa means no na megini.
Births women of babies. She delivers women of babies.
You know, this is a problem. It's a problem. You cannot do this if you're not a qualified matron. Even as a
You mean a qualified midwife?
midwife. Even
A certified midwife.
even a nurse cannot na without being supervised by a qualified and licensed midwife. Most times we ignore some of these things. When it happens, we look for whom to blame. Our own is to talk and let you know. We also talk to the people, talk to the government. Government, of course, we know very well that there is effort to widen health facilities in the state. Of course, we've seen general hospitals springing out. We've seen free maternity, natal, prenatal, even cesarean sections in community, in so many places in public hospitals. We've seen that it is in existence. We also see the Anambra State Health Insurance Program. Of course, I've got somebody close to me who registered and told me how she registered. These things work. Let us also tap from these things. Let's not always be looking at the cheaper ones. If the two cheap, I understand that communities, families are suffering. I understand that.
Tony, if we continue on this conversation, there are so many other gray areas that we haven't even touched, right? And so I think a word is enough for the wise. We are hoping that in the coming days, on another occasion, we'd get to also touch on the other areas. But something really big happened over the weekend. And that's the major story dominating the major headlines since Saturday. And that's coming from reports of the rescue of the abducted school children in Orire local government area of Oyo State. Now, according to reports, about 39 children and 5 teachers returned. 1 teacher was already killed. And so we understand that the military played the psychological game with the abductors. They arrested relatives of these suspects and they forced them sort of to release, because according to the military, they became pressured to release the victims. But we understand that some reports also say they were rescued. The military said they were pressured to release. And then some reports say, especially by Bayon Onuga, they were rescued. And we understand that we're casualties from the end of the military. But let's start with this intelligence strategy that was used. Is it legitimate? And I know this might sound bizarre, a violation of the rights of the persons who were held in exchange.
Are you talking about the video
release? The relatives of these supposed abductors. We were told that their relatives were arrested first, and they were sent videos to tell them, see, we have your people, so you release these people. Okay. I also saw videos where men of the army had to trek weeks, days on foot so that they don't sort of rattle these people as they closed in on them in the Oyo Old Park area where they were staying and holding these people captive. The first question I asked you is about the relatives of these abductors that we are taking to twist them into complying. Is this legitimate or a violation of their rights? Because I'm pretty sure you're aware we have gone past what is supposed to be done to rescue them. All of those are in the past. They've been rescued. Now we are looking at the procedure of the rescue. What do you make of it?
You use the word arrested. The question is, were they arrested? The relatives in question, because the idea is that situation is purely an emergency situation. And during emergency situation, some rights are put on hold.
That's the word, put on hold.
Put on hold, because there is a target, there is a goal. And anything that would undermine that goal, it could be in a way to exercise your rights. The state can put that right on hold.
Great.
The idea is to make sure that the target is realized, the goal is realized. And I wouldn't want to maybe believe that those relatives were arrested. Possibly, they were actually put where they should be so that they would not undermine the effort, either through utterances and some disclosures. Because it was a very classified operation. during classified operations or unclassified operations, the case may be depending on the military terms. Certain things are actually not disclosed, and those the state believes would either make statements that would undermine that. They are not arrested, but they are actually put in a safer place. But remember, I could recall when a court of competent jurisdiction, I can't recall the very incident where the state was actually arguing that we put them in a protective place. And the court says the law does not in any way recognize that very thing they call protective place. Because if you ask the state, they will tell you that those relatives were put in a protective place. The question is, that protective place, is it recognized by law? But we understand in this case, it was a case of an emergency where a specialized operation was underway. And anything that would undermine, remember this very Sadebe music.
So what are the lessons? What are the lessons that we are supposed to pick as a people? Because these people were in captivity for almost 2 months, and we've had incidents in this country. The Chibok case still holds record as one of the longest captivity in Nigeria's history, especially for school children. And so the question at this point is, what lessons do we pick from this rescue, especially as we tackle kidnapping across different parts of Nigeria? As at the time we woke up this morning, Benue and Plateau were in the news for fresh attacks. Now, not just outside of kidnapping, insecurity generally, what lessons are we picking?
The truth is, we must be truthful to ourselves and stop living in self-denial. Remember what happened in Kaduna State, where attackers invaded a particular church. They abducted and kidnapped members of the church. At the point, even the local dwellers, the community chief, and many of them denied that there was never such an attack, that nobody was kidnapped. But it turned out to be false. And the government made a statement saying that nobody was attacked. But it turned out to be false, that people were actually attacked, kidnapped the particular church. The truth is, we must be truthful at all times, because if you want everybody to be involved in this fight against insecurity, the least we can do is to be very truthful, to be very open, but where we should be very discreet, we should be discreet for a purpose. But I have always said, because what happened in the case of Urile, people have been expecting the state to parade the kidnappers. We are not told how many of them were killed, but we are told that some were neutralized, but we did not see the bodies. Nigerians would like to see their bodies, because nobody believes anybody now. Nobody trusts anybody now. Whatever you say, it is actually being scrutinized. People scrutinize your statement as government. And it's a case whereby you must show the dog, so that the dog will know very well that you did not pinch it.
That's if you don't have an aquary with you that you came with and told the dog it's on the dog's body, because there are so many layers to this insincerity.
So Tony, the fact that these very school children have been released or rescued, as the case might be, it was a relief for many Nigerians, people who have been looking forward that there will be a day when they were going to be freed. And when that news came, it was relief for them. For some persons who have been using that as a politics, it wasn't relief for them, because they might have wanted maybe the prolonged, maybe for it to be prolonged, so that they can assuage its called chief political point. But let's get to the matters, because Nigerians are asking so many questions about what actually happened. They are asking questions about how did the Nigerian government secure the release, whether it was based on the stories we have read on the papers, which are not accredited to any known source. Rather, they are saying sources, like what you mentioned. They said the method employed was that relatives, wives, children of these very terrorists were identified, and they were picked up, they were filmed and sent to terrorists, and from there they had a negotiation where terrorists were asking that their family members should be released, and they were going to release the children. But the military insisted that first they have to release the school children and the teachers before they will release their family member. This is what papers are reporting, that according to inside sources. Now, if you look at the statement which was issued by the spokesman to the president, Bayo Onanuga, that was on Friday. If you look at that statement, you will see that he made a claim that seemed to be invariant with what the military later issued in the press statement. I'll give you an instance. If you go to his X handle now, which he posted on July 10, you will see where he said, I'm going to read verbatim what he posted. Updated. In the course of the rescue operation, 8 of the kidnappers were arrested and are now in DSS custody, while some of them were neutralized. There was no quid pro quo in the rescue, as one of the terrorists, a kingpin, that the kidnappers demanded his release, is being prosecuted for his atrocities. The security agencies will give full account soon. They now go to a press statement which was issued by the military and later on July 11, and it was signed by Jonah Danjuma, who happens to be acting deputy director, 2 Division Army Public Relations. Of course, he's a lieutenant colonel. If you go through that very segment, you see how military detailed that it was a coordinated effort that led to the rescue of these very children. And if I'm going to use the words of the military, that operation led to the rescue of a total of 44 pupils and teachers who were kidnapped on May 25. Now, if you go through that very segment, you see that they are saying that the operation lasted for about 1 month, and they focused on identifying the terrorist kingpins that masterminded the kidnapping, busting and dismantling the networks and the like and other things. And then they said multiple arrests were made within Oyo State and in other locations across some states in the country. And these arrests disorganized the group, bringing about a kind of pressure on them. So this aligns with what we have read in some paper that this is with. But where people are trying to have some context is, they are saying that Pananogas claimed that some terrorists were neutralized, but military was silent on that. Rather, what we heard is that there were some casualties on the part of the military, on the part of Vigilante, on the part of Moteco. So the judges are not trying to see that there are gaps, and they are asking if actually it was a rescue operation, why was there no casualty on the part of the terrorists? Or if it was a release, perhaps they might want to understand better what actually played that. So were you able to spot any gap in the whole thing that if well closed, it might be able to give it closer to Nigerians who are asking some questions in some areas?
I spotted so many gaps. You asked if I spotted any gap. I did. The question is, because what Bayo was actually trying to push is not what the military is saying, because you have also mentioned it here. Because Bayo was actually saying that members of the abductor, or those who abducted the kidnappers, we are neutralized as killed, but military did not say that. So, and you can't tell Nigerians that somebody was killed or these abductors were killed, and you did not show them the bodies of these who were killed. If you did not show them the bodies of those killed, you are not making a point. Whatever that is going on now for people to believe, go sim kamfananya. Show me, let me believe. If it is not go sim kamfananya, people will not take you seriously. The question is, we've seen misinformation gaps, as we have been able to highlight, that an operation lasted for a month. It first started with arrest, trying to disorganize the network, trying to disorganize those who were involved, the campaigns identified. It goes to show that government know about these kidnappers, these terrorists, because there was this saying that, according to Gumi, I don't know, because many people have cited another statement that government knows these people very well. If we're able to go after the relatives of these abductors, what does that tell you? It tells you that somehow they are known, they are not first class as claimed.
Some of them have social media handles, and besides, forgive me, Tony, for butting in there. Besides, these people have social media handles where they post videos from. All right,
yeah.
And the videos that were put out there didn't come from the sky. So many of them, there could be IP addresses traced. There could be, we have a tighter NIMC regulation, by the way. It's unfortunate we might not have time to dive into that today. But if you can trace the name of a person via the things that the person has put out there, showing, oh, well, I am part of those who are holding
the necessary interventions from the government. Now, that's what she said. And maybe there could be a point in what she said. Noted. But the other means, because even if they use the victim's phone through satellite system, the very area the call was made can be pinpointed. I have said it many times.
Okay. It's really commendable. Shout out to men of the armed forces and to every fallen hero who lost his life while pursuing this cause. You will be always remembered. Like I said earlier when we started, we are hoping the government does not also leave their families. They are properly taken care of. The void of the loss cannot be filled just like that, but we are hoping that the government comes through for them, at least in terms of provision. And we are hoping that schools are further protected so we do not have similar occurrences in the future. And of course, we are also counting that everything we've been told right now is sincere, because just yesterday night I was listening to a former military spokesperson, and at some point he talked about how the demands of these Orire kidnappers were at least more sincere than the demands of the Chibok girls kidnappers. And it got me wondering, demands? I thought there were no prisoner exchanges, there were no ransom paid. So what demands are you referring to? We are hoping that in the coming days we don't get any surprises. Now, speaking about surprises, over the weekend, Minister of Works, former Ebonyi State Governor, David Umahi, challenged former Labour Party presidential candidate, now NDC candidate, to a public debate over infrastructure and governance. And in his argument, he said Obi's criticisms of the federal government should be tested against facts. Also, there is public attention over some very unclear circumstances resolving, or rather, brought to the media because a certain physiotherapist, she's from the north. According to reports, there were two ladies from the north. According to some reports, they came in from Kaduna a day before she died in the minister's Ebonyi State House, while according to the minister's spokesperson, the said lady is attached to a medical facility in Ebonyi State, and then, or rather, she works for a medical facility in Ebonyi State and then attached to the Ministry of Works. They are physiotherapists, the two ladies, and one of them died in unclear circumstances. There are so many questions that have been raised, and Tony, because of the want of time, I'd like you to probably give us an overview of what you think about these two situations.
Well, for the woman who died at the country home and residence of Senator Dave Umai in Oburu, or horse in a local government area of Ebonyi State, Mary Habila and her colleague Miss Anita Baski. We are
Top of the minister.
The truth is,
because is it possible that they could be engaged, being that the Ministry of Work deals with going to the site, and somebody might sprain his or her ankle while going on site inspection? Is that possible?
Because the death, for me, because Habila's death is something many people have been questioning, because she died under circumstances that remain unclear to the public. In fact,
the minister said there's going to be an autopsy, but her family has refused. What do you make of that?
The truth is, the family, from the look of things, the way I'm perceiving things, maybe the family has been pressured not to talk. The family, they have been pressured not to talk because Omai personally met Habila's parents, after which he expressed condolences and advised them to allow an autopsy to determine the exact cause of her death. But the family reportedly declined at that time. If you look around, in fact, Omai is just calling for autopsy because many people are fingering him, somehow alleging that one thing or the other may have played out. But he has insisted on an autopsy. But people are saying, who is going to conduct that autopsy? Because nobody trusts any ministry, agency of government where somebody could have interest in anything to perform something credible. And it has taken away the issue of debate or not debate. This one has, in fact,
overtaken action.
Overshadowed it. So it's a case of worry. But for now, the investigation should continue because nobody will say he's a prime suspect or not prime suspect, but questions are being asked. Why would there be on secondment from Federal Ministry of Health down to your hometown, your country home? It's your home.
71 Wendy's bread, your tasty bread.
Wendy's bread.
This This is to inform all eligible citizens of Anambra State that the Anambra State Independent Electoral Commission, ANSEC, is inviting applications for the recruitment of ad hoc staff for the 2026 local government council elections. Vacancies are available for local government returning officers, ward collation officers, supervisory presiding officers. Eligibility varies and qualifications range from master's to senior secondary school certificate. Interested applicants are required to submit an application accompanied by 2 recent passport photographs and a
Gwam 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 ihe si na ọbụghị naanị ya mụtara nwa a na-apịwa ọnụ. Udala.
Ika nọkwa n'Udala Radio 104.7 FM. Emetụkwa n'igwe radio aka.
You're listening to the Polity. Get involved now.
Get involved now. Put a call across to 0803-221-6973 or 0803-827-6694. Now, do me a favor. We're going to be talking for 1 minute max, everybody. Go straight to the point once we pick up your call. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, Tony.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
I'm Emmanuel. Nigeria government have started Nollywood again. This student that was raised 60 something, I think 66 or 65 days, and he saw them very fresh. I think they are chopping well organic food. Can we go back and look the children that was rescued from a state in just 30 days? You see how minorities they are. Some of them not even work. Some of them just very lean. You saw them with the rackets from mosquitoes and other insects in the bush. You notice that these people, yes, this is from the captive. Then these people very fresh. You saw some of the students with the handset. And the federal government of Nigeria is Jonathan is from Bayelsa. Jonathan is a Nigerian. And he made a statement that my ambition does not want the blood of any Nigerian. And he stick to that. I think His Excellency Mr. Tito also say that President Bad have not visited nor called Sheyi Makinde. Makinde also made a statement that the moment he declared for presidency, hours after that, this guy struck. So the fact remains that Ayoshe on his own hand was accusing Makinde here and there. And in all this saga, where is the DSS? Where is the National Intelligence?
We understand the DSS led intelligence for that rescue.
They led intelligence for that issue after 50-something days. Good work for them. America is worth the blood of any Nigerian.
Thank you very much. I've got to let you go. 0803-221-6973, 0803-827-6694. You can drop your comment on Facebook. Good morning. Are you there? Turn down the volume on your radio set and try to call again. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Sunday from Salem.
Go ahead, Sunday. You have a minute.
I must commend the president for just trying to rescue the children. You know, I don't know what some governors are doing. The governor who swore in to the chief secretary of so time. This boy from this family is among the people that kidnap these children. If I thought that the person is from my own village too, if let me mention the name, I will know the family, and I will know the area that person come from. We need it. So not just coming on air and telling us cook and bull story. That is why we look like almost that people are not trusting the government because they're not telling us the truth. So yes, yeah, you can say that you do a surveillance because we understand that there's even harm myself that is calling now. If they want to track me, that it's a very simple thing for them. But at the same time, we must know exactly what happened. You cannot just bring the children out of the bush after how many days that they have been in the bush and tell them that this is what exactly that it is. Because we are getting a different news about the release of these children.
Right, thank you very
Let them
much.
come out clear. Thank you.
Thank you. 080322169973. Good morning.
Good morning, Udala FM. The voice of Mario Teshuka coming from Onitsha.
Go ahead, Mario.
Well, Nigerian government, I heard I am a like of loving the movie that was displayed. I'm talking about the releasing of the school children and their teachers. What a wonderful movie. Only that I don't know the title. But I am expecting that they will tell me the title, and I'm expecting the season 2 of it. They should keep on, Nigerian government. Well, I want to help them for that kind of movie. Only that I'm still doubting. Those children, are they inside the bush? The children that I saw in that movie, are they really in the bush, or are they somewhere being taken care of? Thank you very much. Good morning, Nigeria.
Good morning. Good morning. Are you there? Good morning.
Yeah, that's it. I'm calling from Onitsha.
Go ahead, Basil.
Okay, thank you. The issue of the Oyo release kidnapped. I think that there is something that the federal government has not told us. Because speaking of those children, you see that those people, they have a mansion built to them in the bush, a big mansion that every facility is there. Even if I see the other guy said that have a afro head. I'm looking at that afro head. It looks as if very neat, very blackish, and everything is there. I ask myself, if this is how bush is, so many people should go and live in the bush. So first,
are you there? Got to let you go. Good morning.
Good morning, Becky. My name is Dono. I'm calling from Operator Kabinugu of Imo State. Let's talk about P2B and the Nevumahi. P2B is never Nevumahi match. Yes. And it should not stoop so low. Yes, to come out on the to have a challenge debate. This Mahi was the person who sent me a TV interview. Asked, how much does it take per kilometer of this road, this quarter of their building? How much do you take to construct a kilometer of it? And there was another transport. So it's never a bit much. About this children release, this federal government from day one, they can never take the truth. There was time they said there was a queue. Federal government said there was no queue. At last, there was queue. So at last, we know how the students were released. Thank you very much, and God bless you.
All right. We are going to take one more call and then to Facebook. Good morning.
Well, good morning.
Good morning.
My speaker, good morning.
You're welcome. It's good to have you.
Good morning.
You're welcome.
This is our camera. Yeah, and our camera always calls from Fiji.
Camera, you have 30 seconds.
All right. I want to react on this list of these teachers and the children at Oyo. See, if you look at that picture very well, you will know that these people are just, giving us a state-managed program. Because if you look at these children, you will agree with me that these people are healthy. Look at their clothes. And we are here disturbing ourselves, thinking that rain is beating these children in the bush. But if you look at them, you see the way they dress, you see the way they are okay, and you are telling me that these people were kidnapped. I don't think that these people are telling us truth.
All right, thank you, Akamere. We cannot. Frank, please, Facebook.
Okay, so let's see how much of them we can accommodate here. So we have this very one from Sebastian Igwe. He says the news of those federal workers that died in the house of Minister of Work, David Umahi, is really unfortunate. He has to explain all that transpired. Okay, this one is from Sunday MM. He says, if that physiotherapist had died at the residence of Mr. Peter B, this government would see it as another campaign point against him. On the list of the village school children and teachers, our politicians have proven that they can win an Oscar award because what we saw was Hollywood. That was the way he put it. The Collins Zoma, thank you for being there. Then Ikechi Okereke says, as a medical practitioner, I have practiced in Onitsha, Oka, and the various part of Anambra State. If I tell you hospitals in these areas that are run by quacks, where many surgeries are being performed, you marvel. If government takes it upon themselves and decides to inspect all hospitals, they will find a lot. Unsuspecting members of the public are at a risk here because you can't go to a hospital for treatment, probably with an emergency, and begin to inquire about the medical qualifications of the doctors and nurses there. Nobody will listen to you. Government should please help. Okay, he says he's a medical, he's a doctor, Dr. Ikechi. Then Master SJ says, I really want to know the actual position of registration of WAEC and NECO results in the country, and if current Nigerian government wants us to move our children to neighboring countries to continue the education, he proceeded from Onitsha. Okay, as a matter of the update on that, this very morning, that's a story. I think our government hasn't done enough when it comes to healthcare facilities in the country, and that's the reason we are having those local and fake maternity homes everywhere. Then Wichiobi says, I want to talk about the fake nurse. Our government should go into our communities because these fake nurses and doctors are everywhere. Okay, they Chadikobi says, our people like where they feel the presence of miracles. So that woman at Integer might have started as a miracle center. That's why she was able to capture the minds and patronage from the villagers. But on the other hand, if government had provided health facilities or health center for them, they might not have gone to that place. Okay. This one is from it's from Obia Wicket Christopher from Batansuba. He says government should be responsible for the welfare of citizens. Certification, identification, and approval all comes from the government. The masses have a role to play in giving out information of any illegalities, and the confidentiality must be ensured by same government. The agencies responsible for the regulation must be up and doing at all times and make their presence known to the people. Okay, Mr. Kosalestin says, I want to make an appeal to Nigerian politicians to remove our children out of whatever dirty politics they are playing. These children have not committed any crime for being Nigerians, and for those who are clapping for this administration for favoring the release of these children is up to them. But for me, this government is a failure for all I know. Okay. Udala Aloysius says he's working for Mobanam, and he said that he's so happy over the rescue of the school children and the teachers. The government should try to give these children good treatment before handing them over to their parents, because they have passed so much in the hands of these bandits. And he said thanks to the security department for doing great jobs. Okay. Hyacinth Jeba says okay, thank you for saying hi to us on the same time. All right. And then Dr. Misimo Libera, Amagan Namane, we thank you for dropping your by. Your comments at the beginning. Thank you for playing.
All right, then, Tony, your final words.
I think I would first and foremost want to say something about the very story by one AGK Ofebo, the publisher of Igbo Times magazine, where he defamed the governor of Anambra State in multiple ways, where he fabricated stories aimed to trigger one unrest or the other around the family. Somebody did this to Tony Elumelu. Today, the person in question is in prison because the person fabricated the story that Tony Elumelu had divorced the wife. But Tony Elumelu wouldn't take that. We know what he did. He ensured that the person was arrested and he's being prosecuted for criminal defamation. But now you have one Ofebu who called Soludo all sort of names, said so many things about the son being disowned and stuff like that. He even did worse. But I wonder why the governor did not even bother getting him arrested. I wonder. He left those things. And I keep saying this. Most times I ask to be fast-checked. There are just few governors in the southeast who will try this with and get away with it. But the young man, possibly, I don't know what pushed him to tender voluntary apology. And for those who have been making some kind of fun and having it as a cruise over such kind of stories, they have to really think twice. What the young man did, for me, is pure criminality.
Yes.
But he got away with it. But
Right.
I don't know how something happened. He decided to tender apology. There are many people that would not take it from him.
All right, then. Thank you, Tony, for being here today. Franklin, your final words.
Well, on what he said, I learned that he's going to arrange this very morning because he needs to explain better how he got the information. So the thing is,
About the Elumelu matter?